Welcome to the legendary Abbey Road Studios in London, boys and girls. Of course, it's raining, but we're gonna have a lot of fun because today we're gonna do a metal mastering session here. We're gonna meet Mr. Stefan Brown, one of the mastering engineers. You can be a part of the entire session, so let's have some heavy metal fun together. Let's go, follow me. Let me just quickly explain the story behind this. As you might know, I'm running this academy called Kohle Audio Kult, where people can learn how to record, mix, master all kinds of heavy music. Highly recommended, link below. And I had this idea. I was like, why don't I let the people from the academy send me their mixes? And I take them to Abbey Road so Stefan can master them. So we chose 3 songs from different metal subgenres and Stefan mastered them all. We filmed the whole thing, I think more than 1.5 hours of content, and we put this into the academy to make everybody inside the academy happy. Cool, right? One more reason to join the academy, to join the cult. Anyway, I want to make you happy too. So what you are about to watch is Stefan mastering a melodic death metal song from start to finish. And we're going to start with a few questions to Stefan before we get into the mastering. That's going to be very cool. Enjoy. Here we go. And here we are. Welcome to Abbey Road Studios and welcome Stefan Brown.
Great to be here with you.
Great to have you on the channel.
I'm excited.
I'm excited too. We are about to master at least 3 songs. First obvious question is, how is working at the most famous studio there is?
Yeah, I can't complain. It's great. I get to work on different music every day, like different kind of artists. The variety of things that come in is amazing. Plus the vibe here and everything, it's just musical.
So you're doing pretty much every genre?
Yeah.
And where do you come from originally?
I come from like David Bowie and stuff, but then also into very extreme like black metal and things, and then noise, ambient, drone. I got really into that.
Yeah. The moment when you said Dark Throne, I was convinced this is going to be cool.
Oh, I love them.
And what is mastering for you? Like, what's your approach? What's your way of doing this?
So I would say for me, it's like color correcting a movie or something to have like the perfect vibe. So it's listening, seeing if it needs anything or equally doesn't need anything.
Okay.
And then enhancing, maybe correcting a little, but it's mainly experienced ears in a very well-treated room with very high-end gear and just having that vibe and being objective, so we're not creating the emotional kind of landscape of the music.
You're trying to understand it and to enhance it.
Exactly.
Right?
So we come from kind of the place as the listener, because we hear it for the first time when we work on it and the mix is already done.
Yeah.
So we're not trying to create something, but we're trying to enhance what is there.
Because I think a lot of people believe that mastering should change a lot.
Yeah. In some cases it can. It really depends. And you have to kind of gauge what the client you're working with wants. So, for example, if you're working with an independent artist and they've done the mixes themselves, they're putting a lot of trust in you and you might be the biggest expense and all this sort of thing, and they are going to want you to really take it to the next level. Inversely, if you're working with a label and a really experienced mixer and stuff and it's been through and it's been approved, like there's multiple people in the chain, then
it's just small,
you're not
like
really
polishing touches, like
exactly.
And when you get a song or an album to master, what's your approach? You listen to it. What do you focus on? Is it like technical, or is it like the atmosphere or the vibe? What?
Yeah. So I won't listen all the way through before working. I want to work from a very fresh ears perspective. So I go in, I listen to snippets of each track and kind of figure out the tone and what they're going for, the genre and the general vibe of the songs. So that's how I work, and I work fast getting the vibe. So I'm all sound first, and then at the end, after, I'll focus on any technical things. But the very first thing I want to do, whilst I'm still objective, whilst I'm still feeling it out and I get that impact of the first listen, is I want to make sure that first listen is impactful and see what I have to do to get there.
So you're trying to have like let's say an innocent like ear, so to say, like just like anyone who would listen for the first time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Some things, like we use the example of like blackmail earlier and things like that. If you go into it listening to it too much and you haven't worked on it, you might think, oh, it needs to be really hi-fi or something. Let's make these drums punch and make it really stereo,
polished and beautiful.
Yeah, and you'll just completely ruin it. Yeah. Like that's not what you want. So you want to listen and you want to quickly understand, and it helps having a knowledge of lots of different genres, and also just knowing how things should sound, because things can still sound like black metal, dirty, but not painful, which is where you don't want to be. You want it to still sound impactful emotionally, and that can be different for every genre. Like some don't need loads of low end, like a lot of metal, especially older metal, doesn't have a lot of low end. Yeah. So you want to really figure it out, and also respect the mix. Like if someone hasn't added a massive kick drum, I can add it, but
probably that wasn't the idea. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So I wouldn't want to go make something like Dark Throne or Emperor or something sound like a stadium rock band, which I could do, but you got to understand that. Whereas if you don't understand and you spend too long listening and you don't take time to appreciate what you're given, then you might fall into that trap of doing too much to try and make it in a way too good.
And you are about to see Stefan doing his magic, because what we're going to do now is he's going to master at least 3 songs that people from my academy have sent in for mastering. And the cool thing is that he hasn't heard them. That's how you wanted things to be.
Yeah, you did offer me to choose.
Yeah, right. I offered him to choose. He said, like, no, that's not what I want. I want to be spontaneous, and I want to be... It should be intuitive, so to say, right? So he's going to listen to them for the first time and go straight into the mastering process. And that's what's going to happen now. Thank you so much for doing this. So let's see him do his magic. Here we go.
So we're going to get into the first track now by Vasilis. We'll give it a listen. So I'm pretty happy with the mix on this track. Pretty good, very heavy mix. A couple things I noticed is it could use a bit more aggression, and then also the snare's a bit peaky. So we'll look at that. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use the ash clipper and some limiting to get it loud. I'm clipping about 2 dB there with ash, and then I think I'm going to give it an extra 2 dB of limiting in the invisible limiter. Let's see how that sounds. So that sounds pretty good and full. I might want to go a bit louder, but at the moment I'm quite happy with that, so we'll see how it goes.
And one question.
Yeah.
You always combine clipping and limiting, or?
For metal, it sounds really good. The sound of clipping, and I might add more clipping post limiter, so we'll see. But I quite like, especially if we're trying to go really loud, I like the sound of clipping more than I like the sound of limiting. Yeah. So the clipping is where I get the main part of the loudness, and especially when you have a mix like this, which is quite transient heavy, we can make it louder and retain a sense of dynamics rather than doing about 4 dB of limiting. As well as that, in metal music and heavy music, the clipping adds saturation to every hit, so you get a bit more of a snappy drum hit, which is again why I might do some clipping after. So we'll see. So this snare hit about here, I just want to tame that a little. It's a bit resonant. I'm using a dynamic EQ to pull that down about a dB, a little bit more when it hits. I'm boosting these upper mid frequencies about half a dB, just where the vocals and the guitars are sitting. So I'll play with and without the EQ so you can hear how that sounds. So this is without the EQ. And with the EQ. So a little more controlled and a little bit more forward sounding. Then I want some extra saturation on that low end and also in the guitar ranges too, maybe in the sides. I'll see how that sounds. So I'm going to use a plugin called Spectre. I really like this. I've recently discovered it. It's kind of a multi-band saturation plugin that works as an EQ kind of interface. So I can use this to saturate the low end a little bit, and here I can add some like extra weight and depth to the guitars. So let's give that a listen fully wet. Now I'm thinking I might use another band on the sides just to beef up that signal a little and make it feel a little wider and a little heavier in the side signal. So I can hear how this is sounding. So I'll play it now with and without the saturation. So we can hear, I'll leave it on now. And then removing the saturation. I'll jump between the two. So it gives a lot of extra weight and depth to the track.
And this is an EQ plus saturation, or
So-
just like adding overtones to those frequencies?
Yeah, just those frequencies. So it's not an EQ. It boosts the frequencies via saturation.
Okay.
So it's kind of a saturation with an EQ interface.
Okay.
And I really like this. I think it sounds great. I mostly use things on the solid setting, but you can switch between like tape, tube, whatever you want, really. And I've been loving it recently, especially since you can do mid-side really easy, and it's just easy to work with. Yeah. So I'm going to jump between how the mix started off and how the mix is now level matched. So when I click this button here, it will jump to the reference. So we're a lot fuller, a lot more aggressive, which is what I like. I think I'm going to go back to this EQ from earlier. Put it in linear phase mode because I'm going to do some mid-side. And all I'm going to do is pull back a little bit on the side signal down here. Just about half a dB or so, just to let the kick punch through a little stronger. I'm not going to use any compression on this track. It already feels pretty glued together, but I do like the tone of the Magic Defi compressor and this kind of music because, again, it has a bit of a mid-forward aggressive sound. So I'm going to use it with the threshold down at 0. So let's see how that sounds. So I like how that sounds a lot. I'd say about now I'm pretty much done. I'm going to use the Michelangelo plugin by Handy Amps and Tone Projects. And all I'm going to use this for is a tiny bit more saturation. This is analog modeled EQ. Okay. It's kind of just low, mid, high air. It has this aggression knob, which is very similar to the attitude knob on my Kite, but I'm doing this all digitally. And it's just a very well modeled analog saturation.
And you want to add more highs now?
No, I'm just going to add saturation.
Global saturation.
Yeah, and this plugin too, when you turn up the aggression knob, it kind of boosts the lows and the high mids a little. Okay. So it's kind of got a curve in it too, but it can get pretty intense. But I'm just going to give it a touch and see how that sounds. So I'm sitting a bit below 1, and I think that sounds pretty good. I'll play a bit more of the track. I'm going to use an EQ again at the end. I'm just going to pull back a tiny bit in the low mid. So around here. That's going to open up the high mids and the highs a little more and just create, again, a bit more of a forward sound, which is kind of what I want here. But everything I've done so far is pretty light because I do really like the mix and I don't want to change the mix. I just want to bring out some extra stuff to enhance it. So I'm going to delete what I haven't used. So I've only used 5 plugins here. And checking with the reference. think I might want to tone down this side saturation a little. Maybe bring in the Q a bit, because it's feeling like it's bleeding a little too much into the low mids. So I'm pretty happy how it's sounding now. I want to add a little bit more loudness. So I'm going to use the vintage limiter from Ozone.
Are you checking the loudness or like the RMS level or the LUFS anywhere, or do you just go by your guts?
Yeah, so I have a LUFS meter here. I'm not really looking at it. I think I'm sitting around -6, -5 LUFS, but I think this track could be quite nice, just a little bit heavier. And I like how the vintage limiter sounds on the tube setting at about 0.5 character. It's still really slow. So I want to use that just to get a little bit more weight and heaviness from the track.
And that's also like your very last plug-in on the chain to make sure you get no overs and no clipping and no...
I might do some more stuff after,
Yeah,
so we'll see. So I'm going to try this with about 1 dB of limiting. So I think that sounds great, actually. So I'm going to leave that there. Then after limiting, I'm wanting to use the Oxford inflator. So sometimes I use this a bit before limiting, sometimes I use it after. In this case, I'm going to use it before. I'm just going to give it about 10% or so, see how that sounds. Or if I wanted to go really loud and very heavy sound, I could put it before everything else and put it on 100% effect and then play with the input. On this track I might actually do this before as well, but a lower percentage, maybe like 20. So we get an extra little bit of heaviness there. And then
And the inflator just has a very unique way of making things loud, doesn't it? Like,
yeah, quite often, like on really heavy stuff, I just put the effect on 100% and drive into it, and it will do like, you know, upwards compression, wave shaping, saturation. I quite like it after limiting too, to kind of round out any squared off peaks or anything like that. And also, like if I do an EQ,
it also really looks different, right? The waveform after inflator doesn't look limited; it looks quite smooth, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So I kind of like that. So quite often I'll do saturation after limiting and clipping to kind of round off those peaks, and it can actually create a kind of smoother sound. So I kind of like that. I think I'm going to go for like 5% since I've used the inflator before the clipper now. And then I'm going to use the EQ. I'm going to give it a tiny boost, like 0.2 dB or so, around where the vocal and guitars are sitting. That just gives it a little bit heavier sound. I'm going to drop some output gain just because the EQ is going to make the level bounce around a bit, so just so it doesn't go over 0 dB.
And the EQ, where is that sitting now? After?
Yeah, after. So I'm just boosting this kind of range where those vocals and guitars are. Sometimes like I'll play around a little bit with how I process after limiting. So on a heavy metal song like this, I can do something like, for example, if I limit it to 0 dB, and then I'll add an EQ and do about a 1 dB boost in the highs, and then push that into a clipper. So I hit into a clipper with that EQ. And the combination of that is what's happening is we're boosting those high frequencies and then we're clipping it again. So we're getting this kind of, if I solo these high frequencies, it's kind of all transient. So that's going to clip and become a little bit more snappy and saturated. And the sound that makes is quite good for modern metal. And if I turn these two plugins off, so they're on now, then I turn them off, I'll turn them back on. So it creates a bit brighter of a sound and a bit snappy of a sound, and I do really like that. I don't think I'm going to do it for this track, but it is an option I have. The thing with this, I'm just going to stick to the Oxford Inflator and Pro Q, and I'm going to set my ceiling back here. So I say I'm done now. Well, I'll listen through the other sections. Jump between the reference. So especially in this section, you can hear how much more forward the guitars are and create much more of an ambient space whilst being more in your face. So chugging here too is a lot stronger. I checked the intro too.
I tried medication. It was an anesthesia. He repeatedly marked one. Souls.
So I'm pretty happy with it all. And then to finish it off, I will go through and cut like the silence from the beginning, make sure it leads up smoothly. So I don't want it to like break up or anything. And then at the end, so I kind of like where that file ends, so I just might do a little fade out there. And then I set the start of the track to about 200 milliseconds. This is because on streaming and stuff, you'll notice quite often if you play something, it will cut off the first, like very first beat. So we really don't want that. So we offset it about 200 milliseconds or so.
And how much headroom do you leave?
On this track, let's see, about 0.1 dB or so. But as you'll see, because I'm EQing after, my final output is jumping around. So I'll just make sure it doesn't go over 0.
Okay.
My true peaks are also... My true peaks are pretty minimal, which I'm surprised by. They're about 0.08 and they go up to 0.3 or 4. Generally, they're pretty controlled, but usually I don't mind how high the true peak goes at all.
You don't care?
No, I don't care if it goes like 3 dB over even.
Wow.
It doesn't bother me at all.
Not using any, what is it called, like oversample limiter, like
No, the only one I've oversampled is the Ash, just because it's quite a dirty limiter, and I'm using it on between soft and hard knees, so it is adding a bit more saturation. So I'm only using oversampling there. But in general, I don't really oversample my limiters or anything. I don't really. If anything, I like. For one, I think 44.1, because you get more intersample peaks, is a bit louder, and it reacts not quite as fast to limiting.
Okay.
So your transients are going to be a bit snappier, and I really don't like the sound of true peak limiting at all.
Wow.
So.
And what's the process from now on? So you send out the file to the client and wait for a feedback, or like?
Well, from here, once I've set it up, I'll make markers. So this will be for all the tracks or something, and then I will name the markers. So I don't have the track name for this.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter.
No, so what I do is I just name it untitled, but I'll put in the metadata. So I'll call it untitled for now, and the performer, then copy it over. Then, now that's all set up, I make a 32-bit archive file, which is fully finished, and then I will print the master files to send off, and then, wait for feedback, which is usually pretty good. So, that's the whole process, really.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I'm quite happy about that turned out.
I gotta interrupt you here, I'm very sorry. If you want to see more of Stefan Brown's work, you can check out the link below to the Kohle Audio Cult Academy, where you can watch him master 3 songs from different metal subgenres. And of course, it's packed with other courses as well. Recording, mixing, and mastering, multi-tracks, free plugins, free IRs, and it's a great community. So check it out. And please don't forget to check out Stefan's socials. Follow him on Instagram. If you need a great mastering engineer, get in touch with him, because you've just seen it. He will take care of your music and will make it sound great. I think that's all for today. I hope I'll see you inside my academy. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel. And I think that's all. I see you in hell, motherfuckers. Bye-bye.